Hello world. Thought I would, here it is, it's Sunday night, it's about 20 after 7. Kind of felt called to get back and make a video. Haven't made one for a little bit, been trying out Facebook Live a little bit lately. I have a few ideas on what I wanted to talk about tonight. One of them was, surrounding a bit of the feelings I've had with, not being able to be at the EOL event this weekend. And some of the things that have kind of I think shifted, done another shift within me, which is kind of cool. And then I was listening to some Tony Robbins lately. Actually, I've been listening to Tony Robbins and Matt Kahn and there's another guy I just found. I can't remember his name. Okay, I'm gonna pause this for a quick second. Okay, that was just a second for you, but I don't know, 30 seconds or so for me. I had to stir my supper and kind of close the window because it was noisy. I should have actually looked up the other guy's name when I was waiting there, or when it's on pause. Maybe I should pause again. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But listening to Tony Robbins kind of shifted, done it kind of made me look at something from my past or from my life just a little bit different than what I think I've looked at it so far. So I'll talk about that in a minute. I was just going to talk about a little bit how I felt with the EOL event this weekend. So there's definitely a big part of me that was really remiss not being able to be there this weekend. It's there's so many people that I've known, come to love and have connected with, that I really want to go and share space with, and meet in person. And but I think kind of my journey over the last number of years, I think years and years ago, that would have really, really bothered me, because I'm the type of person that really never wants to miss out on anything. But I've really grown in acceptance a lot in the last number of years, especially the last couple of years for sure. So kind of, once I knew I wasn't going to be able to go, I was it's I'm fine, right? But definitely, as the weekend approached, I was it'd be so fun to be there. So it was definitely a different feeling, as opposed to being, kind of down and negative and jealous and any of those things. It was just it would be it'd be definitely be so fun. It looks like it's fun and enlightening, and kind of the power of the group and all that. So I kind of found myself in that space over the weekend. So just kind of living in this acceptance, right, which was really good. Plus I had my sister-in-law's wedding this weekend, which was definitely a bit disorganized coming into it, but it turned out to be really good. And there's so many things that happened Saturday that were a lot, and just to kind of give maybe everybody a little synopsis. And I'm gonna probably post this public, but I'll definitely word it in a way that is cleaner and nicer. I hear, I think my daughter was knocking or something, maybe. Oh, maybe not. Anyway, but I did a live video on Facebook Saturday morning, because I was helping out kind of. I had all of the kids over at my place the night before. So my sister-in-law's kids, my kids are older. And then she's basically another sister, and her kids, because all of the ladies were out kind of having a stay at. I'm oh yeah, I'll watch all the kids, and it's a good chance to see the kids and get together and stuff, and have all that fun kid energy around. So I did that Friday night. It was a long night. It was it was chaos around here, but you got to appreciate that, right? I loved it. And so Saturday morning I got up, and the plan was Heather needed some help getting things set up over at where the reception was going to be. So it's a little bit frustrating, being a part of these last minute things, especially when there's no plan. And in the past, I think I would have got more upset with it, but I was just it's gonna be fun. I'll just go with the flow. Showed up, did these things. At one point, I'd blown up all of these balloons and tied them in bundles with ribbons and stuff, and it's going to put it up on the gate, just to kind of signify, oh, hey, this is where the party is, come in here. And so I'm like bringing them all to the gate, and I have like these like 4 bundles of balloons, and I'm like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? I'm like, how am I gonna like tie them to the gate? And I brought twine with me and a knife and everything, but I'm like, I don't have the hands or the capability to like, cut the twine and tie it, and I'm gonna have to put some of this stuff down. So I put them like, okay, what am I gonna do? There's prickles all over, and there's like, barbed wire fences and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I put all of this effort into these balloons. So I'm just like, and it's just like another thing of acceptance, and I'm like, I just put them down, and it's like, let's see what happens. So I put them down, the wind was kind of calm, like great. So I'm trying to work quickly, cut a piece of twine, start tying up the one, and I'm just in the middle of tying it to the fence, and this little gust of wind comes, and the balloons, like the bunches start blowing all over the place, and taking through the grass, and all of a sudden I found myself like running like a little kid, trying to grab these balloons, and they're like hitting the gravel, and they're popping, and they're hitting like prickles and grass and stuff, and they're popping, and I'm like running after them, and I grabbed them, and I saved enough, and I got them up on the fence. But at that moment, I just really realized how far I'd come as far as acceptance, and what happened with the weekend. So I'm like, there's all of these things that could have got me into this really low vibrational place, and so there was the fact that I wasn't going to EOL, which I really wanted to go. And there was the fact that, I was kind of thrown at doing this last minute like setup stuff without really a plan or anything. And then those balloons happened, and just even leading into the wedding. So my ex and I, who, it's a complicated relationship. We're actually still married, but and we like communicate really well, and we co-parent really well, and we actually still love each other a lot, but it's just like, as far as like a together relationship, is just not where it's at right now. So we've been separated for a couple of years, but she was bringing her current boyfriend, and she's in a polyamorous relationship, so her current boyfriend and her boyfriend's wife, actually, and she's been with this boyfriend for actually a few years, and she's trying to like integrate things more and whatever. So that was another kind of like, in the past I could have been like super uncomfortable with that, right? Like, oh, this guy's gonna be here and whatever, and then I'm also like in this like retransition, exploring gender phase 2 that I've mentioned. So I'm there's times where I'm feeling like a little uncomfortable in my body, and there's gonna be a whole bunch of family there, and there's gonna be all these bikers there, right? These like redneck biker guys who are all amazing. Like, they're totally really all amazing guys. They're all part of this Christian bike ministry that well, I guess my sister-in-law's new husband is a part of, right? So there's all these things that kind of leading into this weekend, is my point, that would have in the past brought me to this place of like anxiety, and I would have wanted to control it and to manage, my exposure to some of these things, and how will I do this, and where will I sit, and where will I stand, and when will I show up, and what's going on. The other really big thing is, because my daughter's still dealing with addiction, there is is she going to show up this weekend? And if she does show up, is she going to be high, or is she going to be detoxing because she's into some like pretty heavy drugs? So that was another concern, right? And she did come, and I'm like, God bless her. Like, she came, like she was able to, kind of keep herself together enough, and it was a really big step for her. I was so proud of her. Anyway, I digress. But she, but that, I wasn't even able to go to the actual wedding, like the ceremony, because, she was still crashed. I'm like, no, I'm going to stay at home with her. And I would have agonized over that decision before too. Like, should I kind of do what I want to do, or like be here for her? But I'm finding like the decisions and the acceptances and the flows are coming better and better all the time now. So anyway, I just kind of hit this state of like bliss for the weekend, and it was, everything just was that it was, and I was just in the moment. And I went to the reception when I was able, like once Madeline got up and things were fine, and I showed up there, and people interacted, and I'm in the meantime, I'm kind of keeping an eye on what's going on with the EOL community down in Glendale. And it got quiet Saturday night, and you're like, oh, it's been a heavy day for a lot of you, right? And you could just kind of tell that. And so all these things just kind of were happening. And one of the big points for me in that day was in that morning with the balloons, but then in the afternoon, when I was trying to get Madeline to go to the ceremony and get her up, normally, because our personalities are the same, we would, our old story is like, I'd kind of keep like, okay, I'd be at her, and kind of pushing her. And because, just her personality is the same, plus dealing with the drugs and the coming down and stuff, she'd be super, super agitated, and our emotions would just escalate together, right? And I just found myself, it started to kind of creep up a little bit, and I'm like, no, this isn't me anymore. I'm not doing this story anymore. I'm like, today is a great day. I'm like, she needs to sleep right now. So I'm just going to tell her what's important to me to tell her, and I'm just going to accept her where she's at, and I'm going to check back with her in about an hour or so. I'm going to let her sleep. And sure enough, I just de-escalated it. We both calmed down. She slept more, checked on her. She needed to sleep a little bit more yet. Checked on her again. She finally just got up herself. We went to the reception, and it was amazing. It was a really great night. And then I had the kids, my sister-in-law's kids last night, and then, today it started to get a little bit like, oh, I'm tired. I kind of hit my wall a little bit with kids, but not in a bad way, right? Not in a, oh, get these kids out of here. It's just like, no, I recognize that, oh, I've kind of hit my limit, and, it'll be time to take them home in a couple hours, and so I did. And I think part of the what I was realizing I was missing while the kids were here was that my lack of connection to where my intention and my focus has been lately. And my intention and focus has been a lot on this transformational stuff, right? Like on watching Kyle C's stuff, and being a part of the EOL community, and having good conversations with those of you in the community. And and I watch other videos like Matt Kahn, and you can't even remember half the names, like Tony Robbins and whatever. So I just am like, I just need to reattach again back to that. So I'm like, okay, kids, I put a movie on for them, and like, you guys sit there and you be quiet and you be good, and I just need to chill out. And I put my earphones in and put on some transformational stuff, and I felt great. Like, I started feeling better. And then I took them home and cleaned the house and stuff. So anyway, as that was going, I was listening to Tony Robbins, and something really occurred to me. He was talking about, because we are our standards, right? And we will always maintain standards based on a number of things, but one of the big ones is the people around us. And we all hear that in these transformational things, right? Or in any type of enlightenment, or like business coaching, or like anything. Like, you are a reflection of the people around you. And I totally agree with that. So what kind of really hit me with that, though, for me, for my life, is I've always had a hard time reconciling. There's been a part of me that's always wanted to teach and always wanted to bring my experiences to people. So maintaining connections to people is always extremely important to me. A good example in my life is when I transitioned years ago. So I started taking hormones in 2011. I transitioned very slowly. I didn't really tell anybody. I just dropped these breadcrumbs. And in 2014, it was far enough along that it was definitely noticeable, and I was like, wear makeup more often, and like, boobs are growing, and they're just like, whoa. But in June 2014, I officially came out, right? And And the reason that I did all that is I wanted to bring everybody along with me, right? I wanted to bring all of the people that I want to give them an opportunity to come along with me. And you might ask yourself, like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just transition for yourself? I'm like, well, I absolutely did transition for myself. But as part of all that, one of the things that hit me years and years ago, because I was going to actually look at starting to transition back in like 2004 or 5, something like that, I can't remember. And one of the things that really hit me at that time, I was actually on hormones for a few months, and my wife, like my still wife, that same story, she was becoming really depressed, right? And I think it really hit me at the time that I always thought I'd have to like kind of give up, one or the other. It's like I either have to have like my happiness, like, so that was this transition, or maintain like my family and all this stuff. And what it really hit me at that point was my happiness is more than just this transition, right? And this might seem silly to say out loud, but I think there's a lot of impact in it. My happiness was a combination of so many things in my life. It was my work, it was my family, it was my relationship with Michelle, it was my relationship with my friends. And when that hit me, it just kind of blew my mind a little bit. I'm like, oh, so I'm like, but at the same time, it kind of threw me into this tailspin, like, well, what do I do? Because in my mind, I'm like, I can't transition and still maintain all this. So I'm like, do I have to like choose a degree of happiness in all of this? Like, okay, well, this is going to make me this happy, and maybe this, and start putting rocks on the pile and taking them off. And I'm just like, no. I'm like, I can't make this choice. So for me, I came to a place where I'm like, no, I am bringing everybody along with me. And whether anyone has ever really noticed that or not, that's exactly what I've done. And I decided that, like, I pre-decided that, like, mid 2000s. And I didn't even start medically transitioning again until 2011. But there was this vision in me that said, I'm bringing everybody along with me on that ride. And I need to bridge that gap. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I know I need to bridge that gap because I believe in people, because I believe that ultimately, beyond people's rhetoric, beyond people's talk, and beyond like the bullshit conversations and the stereotypes and the shit that people spew out of their mouths and the hate and all those things, beyond all of that, like underlying all of that is good and is love, and people are accepting, and people care about themselves, and they care about each other. I'm gonna pause this for a sec. I gotta stir my food. So okay, learn another like 1 second, 30-second thing, like the magic of a video here, of the pause button, the magic of the pause button. Don't you wish you could just like pause in real life and like kind of get a bunch of shit done and like come back and like, oh look, whoa, it happened. Yeah, so for me, like, it became so imperative. It just became, it wasn't even a question. Like, I needed to bridge that gap. I needed to make sure that everyone was coming along with me because I believed in them. I believed in humanity. I believed in the goodness of things. I believed that the way it was before doesn't have to continue. I believed that I could exist in all of these spaces and still maintain these friendships. And I came from like a really small town, redneck conservative base, right? Like, I grew up, as a boy, I grew up like playing hockey, and I was in those locker rooms and people said the shit they said, and like, I wouldn't have come out as gay, let alone being transgender back in my high school days, right? But when I look at it, everybody's got these insecurities, and a couple of the key things that really hit me at that time was two things. Is number one, everybody has judgment, period. We all have judgment. It comes up, it happens, it's judgment, it's there. The second thing, though, is that people care far more about themselves than they do you. And, they might look at you and they're going to make a judgment of some sort, whatever it's going to be. And in their mind, they're going to categorize that judgment as a positive or negative. And in your mind, it's going to be a positive or negative. And, those things may not match up in each other's minds. But anyway, a judgment's going to happen. But a half a second later, they're going to stop looking at you and they're going to look at themselves. And they're going to say, well, what about me? And because that's what we all are. Like, that's our, that's that ego, like that brain, like that monkey mind. It's like going and it's right. We can't get we can get out of it for a second, but then we come right back. And that's why we always talk about meditation and all those things to be into our body and to kind of get out of that mind. But anyway, what really hit me when I was watching this Tony Robbins video was all of that came flooding back to me. A couple of things, like a big thing, when I started my electrical business in 2006, I started it for the dream, not of being rich or not of becoming this big electrical company. I wanted to create something different. I wanted to create a company that people love to work for, that clients wanted to be a part of. I wanted something different in the world. I didn't believe in the existing structures. And fast forward a bunch of years and all these things happened, I really got disheartened. And now that I'm looking back, I'm all of that was such that was the training experience for where I'm at now. I needed to go through all of that shit. I needed to go through all of that to now come back to this dream of creating these things, to have these different visions of the way the world is. And now I have that strength and experience. So where this kind of wraps back into how people all of a sudden I looked at the time, I'm like, holy shit, I talked for 22 minutes again. Fuck, I gotta get these videos under 10 minutes. That is my goal. My next video will be under 10 minutes. And if it's more, then I'm gonna make 2 different videos. That's my promise. So just to kind of get this shit wrapped up, where all this kind of intersected was, you want people, we were always told to you are a summation of the people around you. And like I said, while I agree with that, something always sat funny with me. And what I realized was this, just today while I was listening to Tony Robbins, is the reason that it sat funny with me is because I still want to be that bridge. I needed to learn how to find the strength and the courage and the resiliency to hold this new vision of the world, these new values, these new systems of all of the world. I needed to go through all of this pain and shit and everything in my life to come out of it realizing that I'm still here. I still exist. It doesn't matter how much money I don't have and what relationships have come and went to my life or anything that's happened. I am still here, and because I am still here, that vision is still here, and I can come back to that now. And now I know that I've never wanted to take these changes and then just bring them to a small group, right? So the last couple of years I've been really attached to the LGBTQ community here, and I was the chair of the Pride Festival, and that's great, and I can go and I can help out, but I'm but all of the things I've learned and all the things I want to bring to the world, if I just stay within that little community, that's all I'm going to reach, right? I'm only going to reach those people. So when I do a Facebook post about something that's different, a new way of thinking, or say a video like this, I'm only going to reach this small little collective. So how's that going to change the world? It's great, we're already in these various communities and spaces. There's already these conversations about these next steps and these enlightenment processes and making these systemic changes. But how are we going to bring that out into the population if no one is building those bridges? And that's what I really realized today. I was listening to Tony Robbins, and I'm like, I'm the bridge. I'm like, that has been my training ground for the last 20, 30 years even. Like, my whole life has been a training ground to build these bridges. I've always been a part of all of these communities, as part of the jocks and the geeks and the, I was always part of all of these vast different communities. And that's what I was meant to do, is to build these bridges. And now that I feel that I have the strength, I can go out there and I can bring this vision and I can share it with all of the people that, are ready to hear it, and for all of those that, have questions, they can come and I can translate, and that's something I've always done really well in my work. I've always been like a really great translator. I can talk to an engineer, and I could talk to a tradesperson, and I could talk to the accountant, and I could talk to, I'm just trying to think of another level in there, the QA/QC coordinator or something, and I could talk on all of their levels all at the same time, and I can translate in between them, because for me it was always so important to know what each person does, right? So that's where I'm at. I'm like, yeah, like, this is amazing. This is great. I hit that. Like, there's a reason that you go through all of the things that you go through, is what I'm trying to say. And for me, that was my reason. I questioned it for so long. Like, why can't I just sit with a group? Because there's happiness there, right? There's safety and security and happiness, and I'm like, no, there's something bigger than all of this that keeps pushing me and keeps driving me. So I just wanted to share those experiences with you, just about acceptance and kind of being in that bliss, and then just really trusting your journey and keep coming back to yourself, and when things seem in contrast, there's a reason that they're in contrast. They might be they're in contrast only to your old story, to the way that you see the world, but they're not in contrast to where you need to go or to who you actually are. Right? They're not in contrast to the universe. It's, just keep trusting, just keep being yourself, just keep going on that journey. And a big part of that is just getting into that forgiveness and that acceptance attitude. We've got to get forgiveness and acceptance and love, in every moment. You can't control things, but they're coming through you, and you got to listen to them. That's important. So that's my message for today, and we'll talk to everybody soon.